Grand Rising, everyone.
Grand Rising.
Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living right here in Tampa Bay and our Sunday celebration service. And Derek and Lisa is back. They're going to wake us up this evening.
Don't tell me I came here just to get done. Don't tell me you chopped it up to lose some. It's not a loss, it's a lesson. Ease into the bottom, depression. There's nothing you can do that you cannot lose. Just break through. It's not as bad as it seems when you realize thoughts become things. And the nature of the game is to reclaim the name you gave your soul, and then you know you have all you need. Gotta give it up to receive. Oh, you have got to wake up to learn how to steer your dream. Dive into a new day every chance I get. And if I don't like what I see, I'll press reset. It always comes back around, and then I get the chance to do it all again. This time I keep in mind I have a choice to redefine it. It's not as bad as it seems when you realize thoughts become dreams. And the nature of the game is to reclaim the name you gave your soul, and then you know you have all you need. Gotta give it up to receive. Oh, you have got to wake up to learn how to steer your dreams. Take it away. Sometimes life seems overrated, just a bunch of hand-me-downs. How the life is what you make it. You can't blame nobody else if you start to feeling jaded. Take a breath, take a minute to just remember. It's not as bad as it seems when you realize thoughts become things. And the nature of the game is to reclaim the name you gave your soul, and then you know you have all you need. You gotta give it up to receive. Oh, you have got to wake up to learn how to steer your dreams.
Give each other a high five on that. Those are lots of lyrics really fast.
And place.
Yes, and place together too. So welcome to our Sunday celebration this morning here at the Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Laine Morgan, and my pronouns are she and her. And I am so happy to be with you this morning. It's Easter, and you may be a little bit curious as to how we approach Easter here at the center. And I will say that there are several different themes that we could take. But today I want to emphasize the traditional Easter message of waking up to a new life by letting go of something that you've outgrown and looking up to perhaps something greater and better for you. So you're going to hear that message in the lesson this morning, but also in the songs that have been chosen by these magnificent musicians. And there is a rumor that there are goodies for us after the service. I know there's some stuff out there, and I think Remy has a little surprise for us too. So thank you for spending Easter morning with us. And I also want to not only welcome all of you in the room, but also welcome those of you watching on YouTube this morning and throughout the week if you revisit the message. Thank you for joining us virtually whenever you can't be here with us. We're always online. So I know there are first-time visitors in the room, so welcome to our beautiful spiritual home. Inside your program, there's a blue card, and if you fill that out, we'll get your information, but we'll also put you on our newsletter list, and we would like to send you home with a Science of Mind magazine so you can learn more about the philosophy we teach, what we're all about, and lots of information. So thank you for joining us this morning. You will also see people with bright colored lanyards on. They're ambassadors. So if you have any questions about anything going on after the service, need to find something, any of those folks can help you. We're all kind of friendly, but they have agreed to help visitors with information.
We're extra friendly.
We're extra friendly. Yeah, they're extra friendly. Yes, especially Andrea. Very good. And also after the service, on most Sundays and including this one, I will hold an informal Q&A. So come back in here and I'll answer your questions, whatever they may be. And for all the members in the room, people with the fancy pants name tags, they're all members. Thank you for coming to the membership meeting last week. I appreciate your presence. I also want to acknowledge our board members. Our new board members are here. Jan Bruner's here. She's our new board member. Thank you, Jan. And Ruth Renee is our other new board member. Thank you for joining us and appreciating their willingness to serve all of us. We really appreciate that. We have babies in the room. That's amazing. So back to our theme for the day. Our affirmation today is this, and it's going to be up here. Let me read it first, and then you can repeat it with me. It says, today, I wake up to my inner urge to grow and change. Can we affirm that together?
Today I wake up to my inner urge to grow and change.
Great Easter message. Yes. And Derek and Louisa are back. Love that. And they're going to provide more music again to support our lesson today. Our practitioner of the day is Brittany Christ. She's got a reading for us and an affirmative prayer in just a few moments. And you will notice that Randy's chair is empty this morning. He had some car issues. So let's know for him transportation issues ease. And he asked me if I would do the announcements this morning, so I'll try to be Randy, but I'm not anywhere near as funny. So it's been a busy week this week. I want to thank those of you who served with Glenda and Jill at Trinity Cafe. Thank you for going out and representing us. And our Be Kind t-shirts who are out there in the world. Yes, it was really awesome. You were there too?
No, so we have some t-shirts left.
Oh, we do have t-shirts left. You don't have one on. So if you're interested in getting a Be Kind t-shirt, let me or Rebecca know after the service, and we're happy to get you one. I think they're $20. Is that correct? Yeah. So we have lots of sizes still left, so let us know. So at any rate, Reverend Dieter's class started this past week, and if you happen to have missed the first session and still want to take his big story class, this class is about exploring the big stories in the world, not only the ones that we find in the Bible, but also other sacred texts, and also just in general in the media in the world. There are lots of big stories, and Dieter's going to help us unpack those stories and what do they mean to us and how do we apply that stuff to our lives. So it's still open, register, come in. That class is taught on a love offering basis, so once you register, every week you can make whatever love offering you might want to make to show your appreciation to Dieter. And I think there's a QR code, because there's a QR code for everything, that you can make your love offering there, and don't forget that. Tomorrow is April 1st. No fooling, it really is April 1st. And I want to get one April date on your calendar, and that is April 20th. We are going to go to Echo Fest, which is a festival here in Tampa where the whole environment is the main subject. So we hope to go there and see what organizations might we volunteer for. We're going to keep our eyes open for those opportunities where we might go out and serve the environment in some way. And then after, I think some of us are going around noon, maybe 1 o'clock to Echo Fest. So meet us there, wear your Be Kind t-shirt, that would be awesome. And then after that at 3 o'clock, we're coming back here. Bob Sima and Shannon Plummer are going to be in concert that day at 3 here. And the link to the tickets are available now. So if you can do this one thing, if you can only do one thing, join us for the concert. I will just tell a fun story about Bob Simon and Shannon Plummer. That particular concert we had a couple years ago was the very first time that Susan and Austin were in this building. And so it's a perfect concert to bring friends to or other people because it's relatable to everyone and they're amazing musicians. So get your tickets and bring someone else. And at this point, Randy was supposed to say, hey, Laine, will you come talk about April showers? So here I am. I'm going to talk about April showers. So thanks, Randy. So in your programs, there's a little form with an umbrella on it. So what I'm declaring is April to be the month of showers of gratitude and appreciation. So one of the things I realized at the membership meeting is we need more opportunities to thank each other. Help other people here have the experience of spiritual center that they would like to have. So this is your opportunity to thank someone. They will be submitted through if you fill out this paper form, Rebecca, you can put it in the offering basket. Rebecca will fill it out online for you. But if you want to also go online, the QR code is in the newsletter. You can go online and do it. I would like for everyone to do at least one. So think of someone here that's made a difference to you, that may have greeted you or maybe a musician. Don't do me, don't do Dieter. We have enough appreciation. Let us thank each other for the volunteering or whatever blessings that people have showered upon you. It's time to show some appreciation. They will be used for something creatively in the future, but they will be anonymous. So only I will know who you've thanked. No one else will know, so you can just shower your blessings out to them. They're due by April 30th, so please get those in by the end of the month, and we're going to have some fun with them, but please do shower, and you can do as many as you want. If you want to thank everybody, you can. It would be awesome. So showers of appreciation in April showers. So you can check out our website or our Facebook page for more details. There is a members only page on Facebook. If you're not on that members only page and you want to be, get on there and request to join, and we'll get you part of that group. And there's a prayer card in your program. So if you have a prayer request that you would like for the practitioners and I to pray with you about, put that in the offering basket as well. And we hold a prayer call every week and pray with you for anything you might want in your life. So now Randy's going to turn it back over to me for the unifying experience. And we're going to, let's start with...
Yeah, that was great.
Not as funny as Randy, for sure. We're going to light the oneness candle as our unifying experience, but let's start with our little song, There Is Only One of Us, and then we'll do the oneness candle.
There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one.
To receive that I have lit the oneness candle. And this morning, we honor this candle as a symbolic representation of the spiritual truth of oneness. In this light, we recognize that all people are one human race. In this light, we remember that all religions are in representation of one eternal energy called God and many other names. In this light, we know that all truth is part of one spiritual truth. In this light, we know and remember that all love is a part of the one love that is God. In this light, we know that peace is possible in the spirit of oneness. In this light, we recognize that we here in this spiritual center are one. And so it is. Let's sing it one more time.
There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only
Good morning. Our reading today comes from the book, The Art of Being, 101 Ways to Practice Purpose in Your Life by Reverend Dennis Merritt Jones. And if you've been here before, I have read from this book before. Today's reading is number 64, and it is titled, Through the Eyes of God. It starts with a poem. A mother views her child through the eyes of love. A scientist views the stars in the heavens above. A doctor views his patient with compassion and concern. A student views his teacher with so much to learn. A grandma views her grandchild and makes such a fuss, while God views itself through the eyes of each of us. So how do you view your life today? Most of us are so deeply rooted in the world of work, people, conditions, places, and things that we seldom think about taking time to step back and see our lives through the eyes of God. When we do, it's easy to remember that God is all there is and that we are the living embodiment of the divine. This remembrance tends to encourage us to walk, talk, and act with a greater sense of reverence. In that realization, every moment, everything, and everyone becomes sacred. Practicing the presence of God is the practice of spirituality. It's that simple and that hard. So how is your practice going? Would you join me in prayer? Oh, how good it is to be together on this sacred Sunday. And what I know is that there is a power and presence back of everything in all the universe. One love, one light, one supply, one compassion, one peace. God is and I am. God is community, God is growth, God is expansion. God is compassion and kindness. And I know that I am unified with this power and presence. I am wholeness. I am community. I am compassion. And as I know this for myself, I know this for each one here today. And I absolutely affirm that our time together was divinely orchestrated. I affirm safety in this space, community in this space, growth, open minds, open hearts. And I'm grateful for each one who has chosen to be here, who's chosen CSL Tampa Bay as their family. To join, we join together in a tapestry of love, of service, of purpose. And I am grateful. And from this place of gratitude, I'm able to release this prayer, to release these words into the law. And together we affirm.
So it is.
I have been dreaming I was away, not understanding what it might take to be here now, committing wrong. I've been sleeping outside the wall. There is no wall that never was. There is no gate I dreamed in. No separation for what I create. Awake my soul to spirit love. Awake my soul, be still and know there is no place I need to go. With open eyes I hope to see The bridge illusion, it never was. There is no spare, I dreamed it. No separation for what I create. Awake my soul to spirit. Awake my soul, be still and know there is no place I need to go. With open eyes I hope to see the God in all, the God in me. Awake my soul, be still and know there is no place I need to go. With open eyes I hope to see the God in all, the God in me. Awake my soul, be still and know there is no place I need to go. With open eyes I hope to see the God in all, the God in me. Awake my soul. If you know it, you hear it. Let me hear you sing it. Come on. There is no place I need to go. With open eyes I hope to see the God in all, the God in me.
Love the music this morning. Thank you so much, guys. It's great. So what you may or may not know is that every Sunday, the home office, our larger organization, sends each minister materials that they could use in their Sunday talk. And I don't usually take the title of the talk that they suggest, but today I did. I love it. Don't go back to sleep. Don't go back to sleep. And I want to start with the origination of that phrase, don't go back to sleep. It's a poem by Rumi, the Sufi mystic poet, and it says this: the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. So this entire year, we're talking about a grand rising. It's on the cover of your program, grand rising. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I just want to pull the covers back up over my head when the alarm goes off and just go right back to sleep. I don't want a grand rising. I just want to go back to sleep. So if I'm using the alarm clock as a metaphor, what are the alarms that wake me up? How about another mass shooting? Don't go back to sleep. How about regulations being passed that cause further harm to our Mother Earth? Don't go back to sleep. How about another transgender teen harassed or even being murdered? Don't go back to sleep. How about civil rights being threatened by legislation that takes us back 50 years? Don't go back to sleep. And those are on a global level, right? So many alarms, you may be tempted to just go back to sleep. You know, we envision a world that works for all, but we aren't there yet. And there have been alarms that have gone off for me here in community. We talked about some of those last week at the membership meeting. You know, first-time visitors that don't come back. Let's don't go back to sleep. Congregants that kind of resistant to healing their religious wounds. Let's don't go back to sleep. The parking lot's too full. Let's don't go back to sleep. You know, we intend to have a community that works for all, and we're not quite there yet sometimes. And then there are alarms that go off in our personal lives, right? You know, maybe you can relate to some of these. You know, I feel angry and frustrated when I can't control things. Don't go back to sleep. I'm anxious about things when I can't see the future. Don't go back to sleep. My health doesn't feel vibrant. Don't go back to sleep. I want to be an individual who is awake and aware and loving all the time, but I'm not quite there yet. But sometimes, as a human being, all of this can kind of be overwhelming. And we might feel like we need some more strength and determination and inspiration to stay awake and loving and transformational in face of all these alarms. Where do we look for those things? My answer to that is stay awake and look up. So a few weeks ago, and I think it was either in a sacred conversation, maybe in Q&A or in a meeting or something, I promised that for Easter, I would revisit an Easter lesson from a few years ago that seemed to provide greater meaning to one of the major symbols of the Easter season, and that is the cross. So many, I don't know how many of you were here, but I think I did this lesson about 5 years ago. But why I want to revisit it is because it's current. It's time to talk about it again. And today in Christianity, everybody is celebrating the concept of rising to a new life. You know, around the world, that's what they're talking about today. And I think we should join in that too, but in a kind of a metaphysical way. So several years ago, before the pandemic actually, I took a ministerial class from one of my first teachers in the Science of Mind, Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis out in Seattle. And it was in that class that I began to explore this concept of looking up, looking up. And she asked us to take a situation in our lives and begin looking up, physically looking upward whenever that situation crossed our minds, when an alarm goes off, like I just talked about. And she taught this practice of thinking of the alarming situation and then glance up. And remember that all solutions, no matter what the issue is, all solution comes through a spiritual revelation or a spiritual awakening. And by looking up, you're inviting such a revelation to occur. You're looking for a higher perspective. So Emma Curtis Hopkins was one of Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of our philosophy. One of Ernest Holmes' teachers was Emma Curtis Hopkins. And she points out that this idea of being mindful of where our vision, where our field of vision is represented in almost all holy texts and what she calls the charmed books of the world. And both she and Ernest Holmes, what they did was they looked in all the charmed books, like the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Bible, the Old Testament, all of those books were filled with themes that are represented in all of them. And they're looking, in this situation, we're looking for that looking up idea. So here's what it says in Isaiah 45 and 22. It says, "Look unto me and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth." And from the sacred Hindu writings, the Upanishads, it says this, "Thou canst not behold me with thy two outer eyes. I have given thee an eye divine with which to behold my power." And the writings of Mary Baker Eddy said this, "That thou seest, that thou beest." And Plato himself wrote, "The eye of the soul, which is literally buried in an outlandish slough, is by right science lifted upward." So all these different languages and cultures and religions and philosophical writings were saying the same thing. Wake up spiritually and look up. And I shared this story that illustrates this point quite beautifully in this lesson. So most of you know that I have a daughter. She's now 29, and she lives in Atlanta. And many of you also know that she was born medically fragile. It turns out that she was born with an incomplete spine, among many other little things that were going on with her body. But not having the bottom part of her spine presented several challenges to Kelsey's mobility, as you can imagine. See, our skeletal system, our bones, are what helps us stand up. And it creates that foundation and ability to walk. And without a complete spine to do those things, her muscles actually do what the bones were supposed to do. But unlike bones, muscles get tired, right? Very tired. And she must always sit down very frequently. And she uses a wheelchair sometimes when she has to go greater distances. And you may see her in a wheelchair from time to time in social media posts that I might make about her. Now you know what that's all about, right? So now that she's an adult, she's kind of figured out how to go through life without a complete spine. But when she was very little, all that figuring out kind of fell to me as a mom and the other adults around her. You know, she didn't learn to walk till she was almost 2, well beyond the typical 11 to 13 month age that kids usually learn to walk. She just couldn't seem to find her feet. And then when she found her feet, she couldn't keep her balance, right? So it took her a while. But on the flip side, my daughter is extremely verbal. Still is. Still is. Her vocabulary was off the charts. She knew exactly how to communicate what she needed and what she wanted very early. She may have been slow to walk, but she was very early to talk. She was articulate. And here's how those two elements kind of blended together for her. So whenever Kelsey wanted to go somewhere or do something, she would be, like sitting, imagine her sitting on the floor on a blanket, playing with her toys or whatever, and suddenly she would have an idea. And she would stick her hand up toward me, and she would look at me and she would say, up. Sometimes she would elaborate and she would say, Kelsey, up, I want to go. But most of the time it was one word, up. And what would I do? I would go over, I'd reach down, give her my hand, let herself pull up, holding my finger, and we would go along as I kind of steadied her gait to wherever she wanted to go. So to help her gain mobility as quickly as possible, she was fitted with these tiny little braces. She just actually got a new pair last week. She was all excited about her purple new braces, right? She also had a little purple walker that she used to learn how to walk. And we would have provided her anything to improve her ability to move about her world. But for months and months, her favorite word was up. So over time, she did learn to walk, and gradually she learned to run a little bit too. And she still has leg braces, as I said, but she no longer has a walker, and she no longer calls out up when she wants to move from point A to point B, at least not about walking, right? So as a mom, I don't know that I will ever stop getting those up calls, right? The moms in the room, you know what I'm talking about. They're just not about walking anymore. Sometimes she calls with an up call about friendship situations or work situations or, recipes. She's always calling me for a higher perspective on different things. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about by an up call. And we do what we do as loving adults. What do? We go over, we take a hand or a heart, and we lift. Because that's what love does. Love lifts. So there's a spiritual lesson for us here this morning in this idea of up. What I know is that there is a greater power available to all of us, just like there was a power available to Kelsey back then when we look up. But we have to resist the inclination we all have to pull the covers over our head, call the problem too big to tackle, and just go back to sleep. The power is available when we stay awake. Don't go back to sleep and look up for what we need. Let's break this down, okay? So when we raise our vision from the blanket that we're sitting on, when the alarm goes off, to the power that is available in the room or in the situation, we're halfway to moving off our blanket. Just by realizing there's a power in the room, we begin to move toward our good. We suddenly realize we no longer have to be stuck in the same place. There is a possibility of moving beyond the place where we feel stuck because we remember there's something greater available to us. So when Kelsey would lift her eyes beyond the toys that she was playing with, the thing that she was bored with, and hear that inner alarm or that idea for something bigger or better, and consider that she wanted to go somewhere else, and she remembered that there was a strong adult around her, her possibilities began to grow. When she could recognize that longing or hunger inside of herself and begin to look up for a solution, she could be fed or entertained or fulfilled in a greater way. It's the same for us, isn't it? When we find ourselves sitting in a spot in our lives and wanting more, when we find ourselves feeling stuck and longing for more fulfillment or happiness or joy or peace or whatever our good is, when we hear an alarm going off about something in our lives, our greatest possibility for change lies in our remembering that there is a power in the universe and we can use it. When we can't realize that realize we don't have to solve the problem all by ourselves, that Spirit's always in the room. When we remember that truth, suddenly we don't feel so trapped on our blanket. So the first step in rising off our blanket or coming out of our trouble or improving our situation in any way, healing our life, it's a mental step. The first one is a mental step. It is first in our minds that we stop gazing down at the problem, feeling helpless, and start to remember God is always at hand. In our minds, we realize the truth that we are part of the greater source in all moments. It all starts in our minds. And take a deep breath here. Kelsey didn't ever doubt her worthiness to stick her hand up. And we shouldn't either. She would get an idea and her little arm would shoot up and her piercing voice would say, up. What happens in our minds is we get the idea of changing or improving or healing when we start to doubt ourselves and we say things like, here I am again. How many times do I find myself in this situation? I don't deserve another chance. I knew better than to make this choice in the first place. And this alarming issue or this situation is so big, I don't have the strength to change it. I'm too old to fix it now. That's some of us, right? I'm too old to fix it now. We all have our own sense of why we don't get up from our blankets. Whatever the language is, it's your saying, I'm not worthy for better. And getting past these beliefs is often the biggest and most challenging step we face when we want to get up. But when we remember who we are, when we remember we're divine expressions of the Most High God, when we remember that the Most High God and the innermost God are one God that is always, always, always present, we know that we're fully worthy of raising our eyes and sticking up our hand and saying, up. So it starts in our minds, and then our healing moves to our vision. We must look up. Ernest Holmes says, I look into the darkness until I see the light. I listen to the silence until it speaks. So my question is, what blanket are you sitting on right now in your life? Where do you feel stuck? That's what we call our darkness. And maybe you're willing to look at it until you see the light, and maybe you don't want to look at it at all. But if you gaze steadily downward, focusing on the problem, or if you gaze backward, wondering how you got here, what you could have done differently, you're going to remain stuck just right where you are. But if you shift where you look, things can change. There's a spiritual concept called repentance. Before you run out of the room, let me give you a different definition of the word. Repentance means to turn, to change your mind. It means to turn toward the light, to face another direction, to change where you look. So when you repent about your alarming blanket situation, you're actually saying, I am done being here. I am changing my mind about this circumstance, this relationship, this whatever. I'm turning toward the light and facing a new direction because I will move in the direction that I look. I now raise my little hand and I say, up. So whenever we are wanting a healing in our lives, whether it's a physical healing, an emotional healing, a relationship healing, a situational healing, we must have a spiritual revelation. We must reveal a new truth for ourselves, and healing doesn't occur in any other way. And where does this spiritual revelation come from? Spirit. How do we connect with Spirit? By looking up above the physical world to a higher plane. I know it gets confusing because we're not emphasizing there's a God in the sky. I'm not doing that. What I'm not actually saying to look up to the clouds or whatever. I'm saying to look up from your perspective to see something higher than a human possibility. And Emma Curtis Hopkins also talks about the dissolving grace of God. Dissolving grace. Grace that dissolves all obstacles and all barriers. But first, we've got to look to God, to universal love, to light, to whatever you call the power of life. Life gives dissolving grace to us freely if we just turn toward it. So, I want to talk about the cross. I promised I would get to the cross. So when we look up, we're wanting something different. We search for all possible answers on the physical plane, don't we? Let's do that. Let's search for all the answers we can find. Look on the internet. Find the right professional to help us. Look for a group to volunteer with about the global issues. Let's apply for the new job, invite the new acquaintance, whatever it is. At the same time, let's also look up, knowing that all answers come from Spirit. And here's what I know. At the juncture of those two planes, the physical plane and the spiritual plane, our solution exists, the cross. And as I said this weekend, Christians are celebrating Easter, and Friday they honored the story of the cross. So crosses are everywhere. We look around us right now, right? They're on the lawns and churches and homes and everywhere, in Easter aisle and the grocery store, all that. There's crosses. And I think everyone in the world has to come to grips, has to come to an understanding of their personal relationship with the cross, okay? It's a ubiquitous symbol, and it means something different to every person. And most New Thought people I know, people in centers like us, they just leave Christianity behind. They never look at the cross again, right? They never have a new thought about it at all. Until a few years ago, I was actually one of those people. But crosses keep showing up. Crosses keep showing up, just begging me to understand them. So I've had a couple of interesting cross experiences that I've shared before. But when I moved here 7 years ago with my then ex-wife, we bought this house at the bottom of this huge cross. Large cross, largest cross I ever seen. And actually, Randy now lives at the foot of that cross. I moved, but he still sits there. So, because there's this Christian retreat facility that has the biggest cross in the whole wide world, and everyone uses that cross as a landmark. So there it is in my life, day after day after day. I'm like, I've got to figure this out. Another cross example actually goes back to Kelsey when she was taking her SAT. She took it out of private Catholic high school in Atlanta. And when I picked her up and I asked her how she did on the test, she's like, Mommy, she goes, I was so distracted the entire time because right above my desk was this three-dimensional big Jesus on the cross. I was totally distracted. She declared it was distracting. So Kennedy Schultz was the founder of the church, the center in Atlanta. And he used to say he was glad that Jesus wasn't a modern day political activist and social activist figure put to death, because if he was, we would all be wearing little tiny electric chairs around our necks. I guess now it would be like a hypodermic needle. But anyway, when I went to Rome and the Vatican for my 50th birthday almost 10 years ago, I purchased this beautiful cross. It's a mosaic cross. It was actually blessed by Pope Francis. And it literally beckoned me across the room. You know how you see something and you're just drawn to it? So I was drawn to this cross. I never even owned a special cross, ever. Didn't have a cross necklace, don't know anything about crosses really. Didn't have any significance to me, but this particular cross just spoke to me. And I bought it, and I trusted that someday I would understand it. And maybe now I do. So the cross means different things, as I said, to different people. I hadn't really thought about it until I did this looking up practice. So somewhere along the way, I came to realize that for me, the cross symbolizes this practice of looking for solutions in our lives by looking up. So I'm going to try to explain it. So the horizontal bar of the cross, to me, symbolizes the physical plane, and the vertical part symbolizes the spiritual plane. And then the cross suddenly makes sense to me. So here we are, we're existing on our lives, and we're doing everything we can on the horizontal level. We're doing everything we know how to do to solve the situations in our lives. Kind of sleeping on our blankets right here on this horizontal level. We have bills to pay and problems to solve and relationships to figure out and jobs to do. We have stuff, right? And we exhaust ourselves scurrying along this horizontal level of life, just fixing things. And the whole time we're doing that, the vertical plane just sits here. Simply sits here and waits. Spirit just continues to flow right in the middle of everything. Even though we might be far out here from it, way out on the edges of things, there it sits. Our practice is to wake up and remember the vertical is there. Our practice is to reposition ourselves toward the middle, toward the divine, toward the God in every moment. It's always there. We're always connected. The vertical line symbolizes that. The vertical line holds the promise that God is always present. On the vertical line is all the love we ever craved. On the vertical line is the peace that we know is possible. On the vertical plane, there is harmony and joy. On the vertical plane, all solutions are available because the divine is infinite possibility. It just sits there and it waits as we hustle and bustle back and forth on the horizontal plane. The teaching is wake up, come to the middle, come to your center, come to silence, and remember who you are and what is available to you. And then when you get there to your center, look up. Look up the vertical line and see what God has in store for you. Look up and see the solution you've been searching for. Look up and know that your troubles or your problems or whatever are only temporary and they're on the horizontal line. Your solution exists, but you've got to look up. So when your relationship is in tatters, look up. When you're suddenly absolutely done with your job, look up. When you're tired of the same old, look up. When the politics get too harsh or angry, come to the center and look up. When the world is falling apart with major issues, come to the center and look up. Get to the middle and look up. That's the sweet spot right there in the middle, where the horizontal and the vertical meet. And then when you've found your center and you're looking at your situation from a higher perspective, I want you to do what my little Kelsey used to do. I want you to stick your hand straight up and say up. Demand the universe lift you up. Demand Spirit to hold your hand and lead you to another place. Require Spirit to steady you and help balance you as you take these uncertain steps towards a new beginning. Because just as I took that little hand of Kelsey's and led her to a next experience, so will the divine givingness of God supply you with dissolving grace and make all things new. So as you leave the building today, as you go back into your world, and you see a cross on your path for the rest of your life, let it awaken you. Let it remind yourself to ask you, where in my life do I need to go to my center and look up? Reclaim this ancient symbol of the cross for yourself. Let that symbol pierce the veil of your life and call you to something vertical. Let love lift you up. And for goodness sake, don't go back to sleep. Will you join me in prayer? Here is what I know. What I know is that God is always present in any situation and anything going on in my life. At the center of my being is a place where I'm connected to the all. I know that's my truth, and I know it's the truth for anyone listening here in this room or anywhere they're listening from. At the center, there is a place where we can look up and know that God is present. And we know that today, and we know that always. And I invite crosses to show up everywhere and remind us all that love is present and love lifts us up. And so it is.
And so it
And
is.
so it is. Thank you. Before we say goodbye to our online folks, I do want to invite you into a time of conscious giving and showers of appreciation for the center. We're going to pass the offering baskets in a minute, but I want to remind you that there's a QR code in your program. There are lots of ways to give, and we appreciate your generosity of this ministry. And so let's do our conscious giving affirmation, and then Derek's going to let us sing I Am So Blessed, and Keith is going to pass the offering baskets. So let's say this together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive abundantly. And so it is. Let's sing I Am So Blessed.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed.